They sold my house while I was lying in a hospital bed. My own son signed the papers. But he forgot who built that damn house in the first place. I stood on the front porch in a wrinkled flannel shirt and hospital wristband, holding a plastic bag with my blood pressure meds. The lock didn't turn. At first, I thought maybe I was weak from the surgery. Second heart attack will do that to you. But then I looked down and realized something worse. It wasn't my key. The lock had been changed. Before we continue, please subscribe to the channel and write in the comments where you're watching from. I tried again, slower this time. It still didn't budge. I knocked once, twice, a third time, and then the door opened. Not all the way, just a crack. Enough for a familiar voice to slide through. "You're not supposed to be here, Dad." Jason, my son. His voice was smooth, practiced, like he'd rehearsed that line all morning. "I came home," I said calmly. "What's going on?" This isn't your place anymore." He opened the door wider. And there she stood, Madeline, his wife. White blouse, coffee in hand, not a hair out of place. She didn't say a word, just looked at me like I was a broken tool that someone had left on the porch. I glanced past them into the living room. My recliner was gone. The coat rack I built with my own hands is gone. The photos on the wall replaced. "Where's my stuff?" Jason folded his arms. "We had to make decisions, Dad. After the heart attack, the doctors said you might not be coming back. Legally, we were allowed to step in." "Step in," I repeated. My voice didn't rise. It dropped. "You mean steal?" He didn't flinch. "We followed the emergency proxy. You gave it to me 2 years ago, remember? For medical decisions," I said. "Not for selling my house." "It was time," Maddie finally chimed in. "That house was too much for you. Big place. Bad plumbing. Stairs. Dangerous." I looked at her. "Funny. You didn't seem worried about the stairs when you were angling for that home office upstairs." Jason interrupted. "It's sold, Dad. Finalized 2 weeks ago." I blinked. 2 weeks. I was still hooked up to tubes when they signed the papers. He must have read something in my face, because he added quickly, "We didn't do this to hurt you." "No," I said. "You did it to help yourselves." They didn't deny it. I didn't yell. I didn't push past them. I didn't demand anything. I just stood there, like someone staring at an empty grave. "You need to go," Jason said, softer now. "Where am I supposed to go?" "There's a motel on Jefferson. We already paid for 2 nights." "How generous." I turned away before they could see my hands shaking. The neighborhood looked the same. The same cracks in the sidewalk. Same rusted mailbox on the corner. Same maple tree leaning toward the power lines like it had been trying to fall for the last 10 years. But it wasn't my neighborhood anymore. They didn't just sell my house. They sold my place in the world. I walked down the steps without looking back. The cab was waiting. Maddie must have ordered it in advance. Smart. Efficient. Cold. I slid into the back seat. Gave the motel address without thinking. The driver didn't say a word. Good. I wasn't in the mood for small talk. I wasn't in the mood for anything. Except maybe silence. That and thinking about how exactly I was going to get it all back. Because I wasn't done. Not by a long shot. The motel was the kind that smelled like bleach and dead air. My room had buzzing lights, stiff curtains, and a TV that only played local news. I sat on the edge of the bed and stared at the carpet. 38 years I lived in that house. I poured concrete for the back patio. I built the deck. I planted the lilac tree for Martha the spring after she passed. Now some stranger was probably parking his SUV on my gravel driveway. I reached into my coat pocket. Inside was a folded piece of paper, the discharge sheet from the hospital, and under it, an old yellow sticky note. Martha's handwriting. "Don't forget, leak under the sink needs sealing." I stared at it for a long time. They threw everything else away, but somehow this hut survived. Maybe that was a sign. I unfolded another paper. The old power of attorney document I'd signed after my first surgery when Jason begged me to put something in place. I read every line this time, and there it was. Fine print, right at the bottom. A clause I never approved, never initialed. But somehow, my signature was there. Permission to act in full financial interest of the grantor in cases of physical or mental incapacitation. Funny thing, I'd never seen that version. And my signature? It looked traced. That's when something clicked in me. I wasn't looking to come home anymore. I was going to bury them both quietly, cleanly, and piece by piece. I spent the next 3 days in that motel room with nothing but a notepad, a pen, and a bad cup of coffee from the lobby. I didn't sleep much. Not from the nightmares, no. I've had worse in my life. It was the silence, that awful kind of silence where your heartbeat is the loudest thing in the room. On the 4th morning, I walked across town. Not to see a lawyer. Not yet. I went to Jefferson County Records. Old building. Fluorescent lights that made everyone look a little guilty. Gray chairs. Gray walls. Gray faces. The clerk at the front desk looked like she'd rather be anywhere else. Can I help you? Name's Michael Harkins. I need a copy of the property transfer for 1225 Grover Avenue. She tapped at her keyboard. Are you the current owner? No, she paused. Then I'm not sure I can. I was the previous owner. I'm requesting a certified copy. It's public record. She squinted at me. I didn't blink. All right. One moment. She returned with a stapled packet and a yellow receipt slip. $5, she said. I handed her 10. Kept the change. Back at the motel, I laid the papers flat on the bed and read every damn word. Jason had signed as attorney-in-fact. The notary was from Maddie's office. And the date? Exactly 4 days after I'd been sedated post-surgery. I remember that day. The ICU nurse changed my bandages. I couldn't even lift a spoon, let alone give legal consent. There it was again, that same forged signature. The one from the revised power of attorney. It wasn't even a good forgery, but it was just good enough for the state to accept it. Because the system doesn't care if the signature is real, only if it's on the right form. I stared at the notary line. Verified by Elena M. Ruiz. That name stopped me cold. Elena Ruiz. I knew that name. She lived 4 houses down from me. Retired CPA. Always wore gardening gloves even at the mailbox. I picked up the motel phone and called the Holloway Public Library. Asked for the community directory. She was still listed. Bingo. Her house hadn't changed in 20 years. Same clay pots along the porch. Same faded blue shutters. Same tiny chime that rang when the gate opened. She answered in a gray cardigan and denim jeans. Sharp eyes. No small talk. Michael. Elena. Mind if I come in? She looked me up and down. Said nothing. Just stepped aside. Her living room smelled like lemon oil and ink toner. Stacks of file boxes lined one wall. I'm guessing you're not here for tea, she said. I held up the notary page. You recognize this? She took it from me. Adjusted her glasses. Then her brow dropped. That's my name, but that's not my signature. You sure? I notarized your will in 2019. But this? No. I never saw this document. She turned the page. This isn't my stamp either. I changed to the new serial in 2020. This is the old one. Could someone have forged it? Her face darkened. I'm going to say something and you're not going to like it. Try me. I did some notary work for Madeline, once. She asked me to sign a rental agreement. I said no. It had blank fields. Did she get upset? She laughed. Then she never came back. We sat in silence for a minute. Then she said, You think they used my stamp? I think they used your name. And mine. She went to the cabinet and pulled out a battered folder labeled Notary Violations. Only someone like Elena would keep a file like that. You'll need more than this, she said. You'll need to prove the signature's fake. And the intent was malicious. I intend to prove more than that. She narrowed her eyes. I'm in. That night, I walked past my old house. I stayed on the sidewalk in the dark just beyond the reach of the porch light. Through the window, I saw Jason pacing with a phone in his hand. He was in the room where Martha used to quilt, where we celebrated our 25th anniversary, where Caleb took his first steps. Now it was full of glass furniture and white rugs. He looked stressed. Good. Maddie walked in and handed him something. A folder. He opened it, flipped through pages, rubbed his face. Then he said something I couldn't hear it. But I saw his mouth. We didn't cover the notary. I smiled, because that was the first crack. The next morning, Elena helped me draft a formal notary fraud complaint. We submitted it to the Secretary of State. Certified mail. Then she handed me a flash drive. What's this? I used to do taxes for a lot of local agents, Jason included. I don't break client confidentiality unless I find irregularities. You're breaking it now? She smiled. Let's just say I'm correcting a past oversight. Inside the flash drive, 6 years of amended filings, overstated write-offs, ghost clients, 2 undeclared income streams, and 1 very suspicious payment from a company tied to Maddie's real estate firm 2 weeks before the sale of my house. You think this will hold in court? I asked. No, she said, but it'll burn beautifully in the court of public opinion. I looked at the files. This wasn't about getting my house back anymore. It was about watching theirs fall apart. People like Jason think revenge is loud. Explosions, screaming matches, courtroom scenes with slamming folders. But real revenge? It's a form, a stamp, a quiet envelope that ruins your morning. I mailed 3. One went to the Real Estate Licensing Board with full documentation of Jason's doctored signatures and undeclared income. The second to the State Notary Commission, highlighting Maddie's involvement in falsified notarization. The third to his firm's compliance office, not with an accusation, but with a question. Are you aware that your agent Jason Harkins processed a property transfer using a revoked notary stamp and a POA document that may not meet minimum validity standards? No return address. Just typed clean anonymous. By Wednesday, I was sitting at the same diner I used to take Caleb to on weekends. I ordered the same thing. Bacon, toast, black coffee. Then I watched through the window as Jason stormed out of his office 3 buildings down. Phone to his ear. Face red. He wasn't yelling. He was explaining. That meant it was working. That night, Elena called. They started scrubbing. Already? I checked the county site. The public listing for the Grover Avenue transfer now has a pending review flag. That doesn't happen unless someone questions the integrity of the deed. I leaned back in my chair and stared at the ceiling. 1 week ago, I was just some broken man in a motel with a heart stent and a plastic bag full of meds. Now they were sweating. Do I hit them again? I asked. Elena laughed. This isn't boxing, Mike. You don't stop hitting until the bell rings. So I hit them again, this time through the court of perception. I sent Eleanor Michaels, the reporter from the Callahan Journal, an anonymous tip. Attached were the notarized documents, the fraudulent signature examples, and a scanned page from the POA with the obvious copy-paste job on my name. The subject line was simple. How far would you go to take your father's house? I didn't sign it. Didn't need to. Eleanor called the next day. I know it's you. Do you? Who else sends a scanned document with page numbers tagged in Morse code? Touché. I don't want a story, I said. Not yet. I just want them to know someone's watching. You're playing slow, she said. I'm old. That's how I win. Jason finally called me. Blocked number. I still picked up. What the hell are you doing? He snapped. I said nothing. I know it's you, Dad. The anonymous emails. The reports. What are you trying to prove? I took a breath. You forged my name. Sold the house I built. You left me with a motel key and 2 nights paid. He hesitated. You're not thinking clearly. No. I'm thinking clearer than ever. Long silence. Then his voice dropped. You're going to regret this. I didn't hang up. I let him hear the silence. The kind of silence that makes a man wonder if the line is dead or if the person on the other end is just waiting. Later that night, I took a bus to the library. I printed everything. Copies of his forged POA, Maddie's old loan default, their joint tax filings, the email chain between Elena and the notary office, photos of the door lock I'd installed in '94, the one they had ripped out. I put it all in a binder. Thick, tabbed, labeled, Harkins file. This wasn't just revenge anymore. It was an archive. Because when people ask me later how I managed to destroy my own son without touching him, I want to be able to say, paper has a memory. And I remembered everything. On Friday, I visited Caleb. He didn't expect me. I waited by the school until he came out with his backpack slung low. He froze when he saw me. "Grandpa, walk with me." We didn't talk for the first block. Then he said, "They told me you weren't coming back." "I wasn't supposed to," I said. "But I've changed my mind." "Did you really send them those files?" I stopped walking. "You know about that?" He nodded. "They're freaking out. Mom says you're losing it. Dad says you're dangerous. Do you believe them?" He didn't answer right away. Then, "I think you're mad, but not crazy." "That's about right." He pulled something out of his pocket. A USB drive. "What's this?" Dad has a folder on his laptop. It's called Fallouts. Password is the address of our old house. I copied it. I stared at the drive. "Why'd you give me this?" "Because Mom said they're going to file to have you declared mentally unfit. She was talking to a lawyer last night. Said if you disappear, the heat dies down." I felt my jaw clench. "What about you?" Caleb shrugged. "I just want the truth. I don't care who wins." I put the drive in my coat pocket. "You're a good kid. I'm just tired of lies." Then we're on the same team. That night, I booted up the old laptop Elena loaned me. Plugged in the USB. Inside, dozens of files. Draft agreements. Side contracts. Emails between Jason and a private buyer before the house was even listed. They'd planned this months in advance. They just waited for my heart to give out. They almost got it. But now they were about to see what a healthy heart can really do. The day I took down Jason's biggest deal, I didn't leave the motel once. I didn't need to. Everything I needed was already in that folder Caleb gave me. One file in particular stood out. A contract draft unfinalized between Jason's firm and a high-end development company called Iron Ridge Capital. 30 units in a new condo build right in the heart of downtown. Potential profit, over $900,000 in commissions. And buried in the fine print? Jason was listed as both the representing agent and a silent partner in the holding company handling the sale. Conflict of interest. Undeclared. Illegal in his profession. I packaged the file, scrubbed all metadata, masked the IP, attached it to a burner email, then sent it to two people. One, the compliance officer at Iron Ridge Capital. Two, a senior editor at Real Estate Insider Weekly, with the subject line, "Would your readers care about illegal double-dealing on a luxury project?" I closed the laptop and waited. Didn't take long. By noon, Iron Ridge issued a public statement. "We are pausing our pending transaction with Harkins and Fairview Realty pending an internal investigation into impropriety and potential breach of ethics." Boom. $500,000 frozen. That afternoon, Jason tried to call me again. I let it ring. Twice. Third time, I picked up. "You smug old," he started. I cut him off. "You forged my name. We had no choice. You always had a choice. You just picked the one where I didn't get to breathe. You ruined the Iron Ridge deal." "I didn't ruin it. I told the truth. Your own paperwork did the rest." He was silent for a beat. Then, "What do you want, Dad? You want money? Control?" I shook my head slowly, even though he couldn't see it. "I want you to feel what I felt. When I stood in front of a door that wouldn't open. When I saw strangers living in my memories. You're going to destroy everything I've built. You already destroyed what I built." Then I hung up. Elena and I met in the back booth of Maynard's Cafe. She brought her iPad and 2 cups of coffee. Black, no sugar. "I saw the news," she said. "They're bleeding. They're drowning," she corrected. 3 of Jason's listings were pulled today. One buyer backed out completely. His brokerage issued a statement distancing themselves from the Grover sale. And the firm, trying to clean house. They offered Jason voluntary leave, pending further review. But it's code. He's out. I sat back. The booth's fake leather creaked beneath me. "Did he see it coming?" "No," she said. "That's the best part. They never do." That evening, I walked the long way back to the motel. Took a turn past my old street. Grover Avenue looked different now. Same trees. Same cracked sidewalk. But something was gone, the illusion. My house, no, the house, stood still and perfect, like a museum exhibit. But the lights inside flickered like someone couldn't keep them steady. A man in a gray hoodie stepped out onto the porch, cigarette glowing. He wasn't from around here. Natty must have rented the place out already. The final insult. They sold it, flipped it, and never even moved in. It was just currency to them. Just a damn chess piece. Back at the motel, I turned on the local news. Top story. Anonymous whistleblower brings down local agent over forged documents. They didn't say my name. They didn't have to. The camera cut to Jason being swarmed by reporters as he exited the brokerage office. Suit wrinkled. Eyes down. When the journalist asked, "Did you forge your father's signature?" he didn't answer. But the look on his face was enough. Guilt and disbelief. Like he thought he'd stay ahead of the avalanche. Too late now. Later that night, Caleb messaged me from a new number. "Caleb, they're fighting. She's blaming him for everything. Dad said you were supposed to die." I heard him. Me. Did he say that exactly? Caleb, he said, if the surgery had gone the other way, we'd never be dealing with this. I sat still for a long time. Then typed, me, stay away from it. Let them sink themselves. Caleb, can I come visit you? I stared at that message longer than I care to admit. Then replied, me, not yet, but soon. The next morning, I printed new copies of everything. Every complaint, every article, every bank record. I bound them in a slim red folder labeled, Phase 2 before we continue. Please subscribe to the channel and write in the comments where you're watching from. Inside the front cover I wrote, they thought I wouldn't come back. They thought I'd stay silent. But I still remember how to build. And I still remember how to tear down. The envelope came on a Monday. Hand-delivered. Bic paper. Gold embossed letters. Petition for guardianship review. I read the first line 3 times. Petitioners request a competency evaluation of Mr. Michael Harkins, DOB, March 14, 1959, due to concerns regarding deteriorating mental acuity and impaired judgment. I flipped to the second page. Signed by both Jason and Madeline. They wanted the court to declare me mentally unfit. It was bold, risky, but I knew exactly why they were doing it. They weren't afraid I'd win in court. They were afraid I'd win outside of it. And if they got a judge to stamp that order, everything I'd done, every file, every complaint, could be painted as the ramblings of a confused old man. They weren't just trying to bury me. They were trying to erase me. I took the envelope to Elena. She didn't even sit down before reacting. Oh, these little snakes. She flipped through the pages fast, mouth tight, fingers snapping each paper like a whip. They're using an old statute, Civil Code 18 to 204. It's barely used and only sticks if the respondent doesn't contest it. I leaned back, which is exactly what they're hoping for. They think you'll crumble. They want me to. Elena set the pages down. So what's the plan? I gave her a look. We give them what they want. 2 days later, I walked into the courthouse for the pre-hearing. Unshaved, unbuttoned shirt. I even let myself tremble a little, just enough for the bailiff to offer me a hand getting into the room. Jason and Maddie were already seated, both in black as if mourning my sanity. Jason stood when I entered. Dad, I just want to help, he said, loud enough for everyone to hear. I didn't respond. I sat down slowly, adjusting my reading glasses with shaky hands. The judge, late 50s, sharp jaw, dry tone, gave us all a look. I've reviewed the petition. I understand the request is for emergency evaluation. Yes, Your Honor, said Maddie. Her voice sweet, her smile tight. We're deeply concerned. He's made erratic financial decisions, is currently living in a motel, and has accused us of theft without evidence. The judge turned to me. Mr. Harkins, do you understand what's being requested here today? I blinked, then gave the weakest nod I could manage. Would you like to respond? I swallowed, then looked toward my court-appointed attorney, a quiet woman named Gina Petrakis, who hadn't said a word so far. She stood up. Your Honor, Mr. Harkins would like to comply with a formal psychological evaluation, but he requests that the evaluation be recorded. The room shifted. Jason stiffened. Maddie's hand curled into her lap. The judge raised an eyebrow. Recorded? That's an unusual request. Gina replied, He has the legal right to document medical evaluations for personal protection, especially when family disputes are involved. The judge considered that, then nodded. Granted. Evaluation will be scheduled within 72 hours. Recording permitted. Jason didn't say a word, but I saw it in his eyes. He knew the trap just closed around him. The evaluator was a woman named Dr. Carolyn Yu. Calm, mid-40s, eyes like needles. I met her in a neutral office near the university. Elena helped install the hidden mic in my jacket. Gina brought in the external camera. Dr. Yi greeted me with a clipboard and a soft smile. "We're just going to talk," she said. "All right. Do you know where you are?" "Sure. About to be declared insane by my own kid. Tuesday afternoon, 2 p.m. roughly 71 degrees outside. You're wearing rose perfume." She smiled. "You're sharper than most clients." I shrugged. Most clients haven't been legally ambushed. Half an hour in, she set the clipboard down. "Mr. Harkins, I'm going to be honest. You're more coherent than most people 10 years younger. Why do you think your son did this?" "Because I didn't die," I said. Simple. Honest. The room went quiet. Then she leaned forward. "What would you do if the court granted him guardianship?" "I'd start over. Just like that." "No. I'd wait. Then take it all back with interest." She looked at the camera for a long second. Then said, "Thank you." 3 days later, the report was in. Fit. Alert. Cognitively sound. No signs of impairment. Signed and sealed. Gina handed it to me personally. "They have no case," she said. "The judge will throw it out in 10 seconds. "Good. You sure you don't want to countersue?" I shook my head. "Not yet. I had something better in mind." That night, I printed the transcript from the evaluation. Then I wrote a letter. "To whom it may concern, in the event I am found unfit to manage my own life, please forward this recording to the Department of Real Estate Licensing, the Ethics Committee of the State Bar, and the Office of the County Clerk. Sincerely, Michael Harkins." I attached it to 3 flash drives, sealed each one in a manila envelope. Elena would keep one, Caleb the second. And the third? That was going in a safe deposit box under my name. Because if Jason and Maddie wanted to play legal games, they'd better be ready to lose more than court. They'd better be ready to lose everything. By the time the judge dismissed Jason's guardianship petition, with visible irritation, I was already 3 moves ahead. The court found me fully competent. The judge even offered a personal apology, which I declined with a quiet, "Thank you, Your Honor." Jason and Maddie didn't stay to shake my hand. They left in silence. But the moment they walked out, I handed Gina a folder marked Madeline, Financials. She flipped through it slowly. "What exactly am I looking at?" "Debt." A silence. Then I added, "and fraud." Maddie had been hiding things from Jason. Old debts from before their marriage. Credit lines she opened under different variations of her name. Madeline R., James M. R. Harkins, even one under her maiden name that was marked closed due to chargeback dispute. Elena helped me dig it all up through public access filings and third-party reports. It was messy, and now it was mine. I filed a formal complaint to the Mortgage Review Board anonymously, suggesting she had omitted these debts when co-signing the Grover Avenue transfer documentation. And then I submitted a separate request to have the transaction frozen, pending review for potential misrepresentation. Maddie, who always smiled like a realtor in a perfume ad, got her first legal freeze. The fallout hit fast. Jason's firm, still licking its wounds from the Iron Ridge scandal, received a second ethics complaint. Then a third. The name Harkins became a whispered liability. Word travels fast in real estate. By the end of the week, 5 of his listings were pulled. 2 potential buyers requested new agents, and 1 mortgage partner publicly cut ties. But it wasn't just business unraveling. It was them. Caleb messaged me that night. She's staying at her sister's. Dad says it's temporary. I didn't reply. Some cracks don't need commentary. They speak for themselves. Meanwhile, the Grover Avenue transfer had been reopened by the county. That never happens, unless there's real fire under the smoke. Elena sent me the notice. Red-stamped. Full audit pending. They're going to regret touching that house, she said. They already do. She looked at me across her kitchen table. You're not even breathing hard, Mike. You're just dismantling them. I nodded. I built a house once. Takes time, patience, and knowing where to start. And now? Now I'm building a reckoning. The next play came through the local paper. I hadn't contacted Eleanor in weeks, but she had been watching the public records, waiting for her moment. She published a headline that stopped traffic, from son to stranger, how a local agent tried to declare his father unfit to cover a real estate fraud. The article was brutal. Detailed the POA forgery, the fake notary, the financial conflicts, the guardianship failure. It ended with Mr. Harkins declined to comment directly but stated, some houses are built to last. Some people aren't. I didn't say that, but I liked it. That night, someone knocked on my motel door. I didn't open it immediately. Who is it? It's me, Caleb's voice said. I cracked it open. He stood there in a hoodie, backpack slung over his shoulder. I didn't know where else to go. You okay? He nodded, but his eyes were red. I'm not taking sides, he whispered. But I'm not going back there tonight. I let him in. He sat at the edge of the bed, hands in his lap. Mom said you're trying to ruin us. I'm not, I said. I'm making sure what they did to me never happens to anyone else. He nodded slowly. Can I stay here tonight? Course you can. He curled up under the extra blanket I never used. I sat in the chair, looking out the window at the street lamps. I didn't feel victorious, just steady. That boy deserved better than what they gave him. So I gave him what they never could. A quiet room. And the truth. In the morning, I handed him a small notepad. Write down everything you remember. Dates. Things they said. Anything. He looked up. You're building a case? No, I said. I'm building a firebreak. The invitation came in a manila envelope with no return address. Inside was a single card, Public Ethics Forum, City Hall Auditorium topic, Elder Rights and Legal Protections, we welcome your voice. I knew who sent it. Eleanor Michaels. She never signed her name, but I knew the font. The spacing. The way she left just a bit of room at the bottom of the card, a space for truth. I wasn't a public speaker, but I was done being silent. The auditorium was full. Fold-out chairs, warm lights, locals in jackets that didn't quite fit. A row of reporters with cameras poised like rifles. I sat in the third row, waited. Then, at 6:15 sharp, Eleanor took the stage. She spoke about elder abuse, guardianship scams, predatory transfers. And then she paused. We'd like to close with a testimony from someone who lived through it. She didn't look at me. She didn't have to. I stood up and walked to the mic, felt a dozen eyes land on my back. Heard one camera shutter click. I gripped the sides of the podium. Let the silence stretch. Then said, my name is Michael Harkins. I built my house with my own hands in 1986. My wife and I raised our son there. We painted every wall, repaired every pipe. I planted a tree the year she died. It still stands. Another pause. Then, 6 weeks ago, while I was recovering from heart surgery, my son and his wife forged a document and sold that house. They changed the locks, cleared the furniture, left me with a motel key and 2 nights paid. Nothing more. You could hear breathing in that room. Nothing else. They said I was confused, that I wasn't safe in my own home. But I'm not confused. I'm not old in the way they hoped. And I don't forget. I pulled out a flash drive and held it up. On this drive is every lie they told, every form they falsified, every signature they stole. It's not revenge. It's correction. A beat. They took my house, so I took everything they built. Then I stepped back. Nothing else needed saying. The story aired that night, not just in Callahan Journal, but on 2 state news stations. Clips from the Ethics Forum went viral. Jason's voicemail was full. Natty's license was suspended within 72 hours. And the district attorney's office issued a notice of preliminary inquiry into the fraudulent POA and forged transfer. But the moment that made it real came in an email from the county registrar's office. Mr. Harkins, your petition to reverse the Grover Avenue transfer has been reviewed. Due to newly submitted evidence of fraud, the deed will be temporarily frozen and returned to judicial review. Please prepare to submit formal title reclamation documents. I didn't celebrate, just nodded once. It was beginning. The return. Jason tried to meet me. Left a voicemail with that same polished tone he used in court. Dad, we need to talk. I think we all got caught up in something. Let's sit down and fix this. I saved the message. Never replied. Maddie texted Caleb, tell your grandfather to stop. He's destroying our lives. Caleb showed it to me. I read it twice. Then said, she's right. That weekend, I received a certified letter. Inside, a formal apology from Harkins and Fairview Realty. They admitted internal oversight, stated that Jason Harkins was no longer affiliated with the firm in any capacity. They also included something else, a check for $15,000, marked settlement, without admission of guilt. Before we continue, please subscribe to the channel and write in the comments where you're watching from. I folded the check in half. Didn't cash it. Didn't tear it. I just kept it, like a souvenir from a war they thought I wouldn't survive. Caleb and I walked past Grover Avenue on Sunday morning. The house stood still, empty again. County tape across the gate. Legal posting on the front door. A neighbor walked by and nodded at me. You going to move back in? He asked. Maybe, I said, but only when it remembers me. The courtroom was quiet. Not the kind of quiet you get from respect. The kind that comes before something irreversible. I sat straight, hands folded on the table. Caleb beside me. Elena 1 row back. Gina to my left, papers ready, voice steady. Across the aisle, Jason. Tie crooked. Jaw clenched. No Maddie this time. She'd filed for divorce 3 days earlier. Said she couldn't trust a man who couldn't protect his signature. The judge entered. Gravel voice, no-nonsense stare. She looked down at the file in front of her. Case 4148B, Harkins versus Harkins et al. Motion to void property transfer based on fraudulent documentation and abuse of power of attorney. She tapped her pen, then looked at me. Mr. Harkins, you've submitted quite a mountain of evidence. I like paper, I said. A chuckle somewhere in the back. She turned to Jason. You forged your father's name. Used a revoked notary stamp. Failed to disclose commingled debts on the transfer. Jason started to speak. She raised a hand. No, not today. Silence. She read the ruling in full. This court finds the transfer of property at 1225 Grover Avenue null and void. Title to be returned to the original owner, Michael Harkins. Furthermore, the court refers the actions of Jason and Madeline Harkins to the district attorney for review. Gavel down. Just like that. 40 years rebuilt in 40 seconds. Outside the courthouse, the air smelled like spring. Soft wind. Light pollen. A few distant church bells. Caleb hugged me without a word. Gina smiled. You beat them. I shook my head. I didn't beat them. I survived them. A week later, I walked back into Grover Avenue. My keys worked again. That click, it was like hearing your own voice after a long silence. The house smelled like dust and emptiness. The kind that lingers after people walk through without caring what they touch. I moved slowly. Touched the walls. The windows. The door frame I carved initials into back in 91. Then I walked into the kitchen. The sticky note was still there. Martha's handwriting. Don't forget, leak under the sink. I smiled. I sat down in my chair, the one they took and I brought back. Turned on the radio. Something soft played. And then I breathed. Deep. Full. Clean. The news died down after a few weeks. Jason lost his license permanently. His firm scrubbed him from their site. Maddie disappeared into a condo 2 counties over. No apology ever came. I didn't need one. The truth was enough. One morning, Caleb handed me a manila envelope. Inside was a school essay. Title, The Strongest Man I Know. He'd written about me. Not as a victim. Not as a hero. As someone who didn't give up. I asked him if I could keep it. He nodded. That night, we sat on the porch. Grape soda for him. Coffee for me. The wind moved through the lilac tree. Still blooming. Still rooted. like the man who planted it. They thought taking my house would end me, but I was the one who knew where the foundation cracked. And I was the only one who remembered how to rebuild. Thank you for watching.